Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Core Knowledge Hub closing meeting this year and for the project itself. Let us wait perhaps one more minute because I still see people joining our webinar, and then we'll start. So I think that we are good to go with the webinar. Thank you once again for joining our webinar and welcome. We really feel that the topic of this webinar is relevant for everyone now. And it's about how to find money for your local HIV organization, tips from a community-based perspective. First of all, while you are joining, let me please share some housekeeping rules, and we will be very grateful if you could follow these rules. So this event is being recorded and it will be available on the core website. The link will be shared with you after the webinar, but you can always find it a couple of days after the webinar on the core website. Please make sure that you are on mute during all the presentations, but if you feel that you have something to share, please comment us in the chat box. The question and comments through the meeting can be asked only in the chat and in the QA session. If you would like your questions to be anonymous, please send them in a private message to our moderator, Marco Stitioli, or me, Natalia Gerasimchuk, and we will not disclose your name in the Q&A session. During the Q&A session, please raise your hand if you would like to share some comment or ask a question. If you have any technical issues and the Zoom is not working for some reason, please reach out to me at the email you see now on your screen. This webinar is a part of the core project. CORE is the Community Response to End Inequalities project, which is the European Union Action Grant that runs from 2023 to the end of this year. Unfortunately, it has no continuation, but it was a very successful project. We have still 24 partners from 16 European Union member states. This project has been aiming to reduce inequalities in the HIV, TB, and viral hepatitis responses by promoting, strengthening, and integrating the services for communities that were the less traditional, that have been traditionally underserved by the mainstream services and prevention and healthcare services. This webinar is in particular the part of the Core Knowledge Hub. The Core Knowledge Hub is a series of meetings which were aimed at sharing the best practices, challenges, lessons learned in community services for all our communities affected by HIV, TB, viral hepatitis, and STIs. It has been designed not only to share theoretical knowledge, but also to share some practical insight. And that's what our webinar is, our workshop is about. Now, please let me introduce our moderator, and then I will pass the floor to him to introduce our speakers. So Marco Bastian Stitioli is the moderator of our meeting. Marco has been an Italian PrEP advocate since 2020. With the help of small but dedicated volunteer team, he founded Brescia Checkpoint, the first HIV organization in his native hometown in northern Italy. Marco uses digital tools to inform and empower communities to take care of their own sexual health. He also collaborates at both national and European levels on HIV combination prevention research and projects. And also, Marco Stitioli is the community advisory group member at the CORE project, and we're really honored and proud to have Marco with us here. Thank you, Marco. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Natalia. I'm very happy to be here. We decided to organize this webinar because we think that it's very important to talk about money and learn how to find this money. So we organized this event. I just want to introduce our speaker. We start with Gidrie. This is a fundraising consultant, a co-founder and CEO of Baltic Fundraising Hub, and has been working within the Lithuanian NGO sector for over 25 years. Gidre, she will introduce us inside the fundraisers basic, tailored to HIV field, HIV association. Then the next the three speakers are community member, HIV community member, and they will share with us best practices and case studies. There will be Dr. Abimbola, that is a community health specialist in Sweden with over 15 years experience as a primary care physician, particularly in migrant health and HIV response. Then Magda from Poland, that is a CEO of the Foundation Social Education in Warsaw. She's a social scientist and public health expert in HIV prevention, testing, harm reduction, and supporting people living with HIV. Finally, Alexandra from Sweden, living openly with HIV since 2018. She combined her health background with lived experience to improve knowledge, reduce stigma, strengthen prevention, and patient rights. So I'm very happy, and I think that I will give the floor to Gidra.
Hello, everyone. My name is Giedre, and I am thrilled to be a part of the webinar on how to find money for your local HIV organization. I am from Vilnius, Lithuania, and I am a proud co-founder and CEO of the Baltic Fundraising Hub. We are consultancy that provides nonprofit with the help and support and help them grow. As Marco presented, I was working within nonprofit sector for more than 20 years. And recent 8, almost 9 years are mainly dedicated to fundraising. So today I'll briefly present few ideas on fundraising basics. So my presentation has several important topics. So you can see on the slide topics that will be covered. And also I'll share with you one tool, fundraising plan template. You can download this during my presentation and use it for your own purposes. To start with, let's describe what fundraising is. So, this is the process of seeking and gathering voluntary contributions by engaging individuals, businesses, charitable foundations, or governmental agencies. We can fundraise money, but also we can fundraise services, we can fundraise goods as well. For sustainability of every nonprofit or non-formal organization or movement, the rule of 1/3 is usually applied. That means that every nonprofit should have at least 3 different and independent financing sources. And if I could emphasize one idea that I would like you to take away today from my brief presentation, it will go next. To get funding, you need to be fundable and findable. This is the quote of fundraising and storytelling expert from North America, Kevin L. Brown. By being fundable, I mean to have a specific problem at the center of your organization strategy, to serve a defined group of people, to focus the mission and intervention. Also, it's very important to measure a few outputs and outcomes and make your vision powerful and tangible. Being fundable in this context means showing donors why you exist, what you do, where you are going, who will do it, how to get there, and when it will be done. That's your theory of change and strategic plan. By being findable, I mean that it's very important to determine what makes you unique, to decide which audiences to target, to communicate value proposition, to develop bold messaging and storytelling, and show off a daring brand personality. Being findable means occupying a distinct space in the mindset of your ideal funders, plus routinely communicating your promises. That's your positioning strategy and marketing communication. So, to get funding, you need to be fundable and findable. So, what should be a very first step in your organization's fundraising journey? This step is developing a case for support. Case for support is persuasive, evidence-based narrative that explains why your organization deserves philanthropic investment. It connected with urgency of the problem. It connected with unique solution, the tangible impact of a donor's contribution. And case for support is more than fundraising document. It's core message that guides all donors' communications, proposals, campaigns, and presentations. It answers the fundamental question every donor asks: why should I support you? And why now? Strong case for support describes the need and the problem your organization is tackling. Use data, stories, emotion to make the need feel urgent and real. It also explains how your organization uniquely addresses the problem, what you do, how you do it, and why it works. It also shows what difference your work makes, both for individuals and for society at large. Paints a picture of what the world looks like if you succeed. So, this is the vision. And very important, invites the donor to take part. Be specific about how their support will make meaningful difference. And here you can see example of non-existing nonprofit I made of and its possible case of support. So the core of every fundraising method is this kind of description of organization's key elements. So initial step is describing your case for support by answering the question: what is your need you're addressing? What's your solution? What's your impact, vision, and call to action? So every organization has different case for support, but definitely you can use this example to borrow some ideas or some keywords. There are a huge variety of fundraising tools and techniques, and all these tools and techniques can be put in three main categories: individual fundraising, corporate fundraising, and institutional fundraising. And I am very sure that majority of nonprofits in Europe, at least in my region, in Eastern and Central Europe, are quite good in institutional fundraising. We can write proposals. We're writing many of application forms. We receive project-based funding, and we are implementing project. And in fact, right now we are also talking in the context of core project that was funded by means of institutional fundraising. But I would like to focus on individual fundraising. So that means individuals, people giving money, and corporate fundraising. That means business companies giving money, or corporate foundations gives money. And I believe that these two areas are still unserved, and our nonprofits don't use all the potential that individual fundraising and corporate fundraising has. Let's start with individual fundraising. The first step is to better understand donors. Why do people donate? And there are two perspectives on donation: altruistic and egocentric. The altruistic perspective say that I want to help others. It is driven by very clear belief that people should share with others. Helping others is perceived as a value itself. The egocentric perspective says I feel better when I donate, or it hurts to see something sad, and I want to feel better. In this perspective, the focus is not on the recipient of the help, but on one's own feeling, the desire to feel better after having done a good deed. For example, I am watching a sensitive story on TV that moves me, makes me feel so sorry inside, so I am clicking the button donate and I feel better. I just did something good. Practically, the majority of individual donation decisions are made based on egocentric perspective, not altruistic, especially spontaneous ones. And no, let's not give it into the temptation to judge which perspective is better or purer. Both are equally good. However, as we strive to successfully raise funds, it is important for us to understand what perspective dominant in our donors' heads and hearts. So we know why people give, and what do you think is the reason why people don't donate? You may say they don't trust nonprofits, or you may say that they need money for themselves. And you may be right, but there is one very interesting reason. Studies conducted in many countries show that up to quarter of people don't donate because they simply haven't been asked. So when it seems that everyone already donated to some cause, remember the fact what a large part of potential donors have not even been invited to contribute. And among them, there are your donors who are waiting to be asked. The emotions, feelings, and reasons why we donate can be very different. They can vary depending on the donor's profile. Some donors are more likely to donate when they feel regret, guilt, fear, or sense of insecurity. This is typical of donors of older generations. Meanwhile, among young donors, Gen Z, there's a tendency to donate when they feel joy, believe that they are accompanied by success, and want to share that success with others. In the field of activism, donating can also become a form of rebellion when the way of resisting the current social situation is support certain initiatives that represent donor values. A very interesting and quite widely used motive is FOMO. This is an abbreviation for a phenomenon called fear of missing out. And when you simply have to donate, you can miss it because everyone around you is doing it. This is also the basis for our traditional pre-Christmas donation. Let's think clearly, or all their organizations, they are fundraising all year round and they're running their programs all year round. But just before the Christmas, majority of donors, individuals as well as corporate ones, willing to make their donation. On the slide, you can see several emotions I put in orange. I believe these emotions could be the ones worth to summon for local HIV organizations. And so while developing piece for fundraising communication, always ask yourself what feeling you are willing to call out. Please also note that where your value is created, your donors are there too. That means if you are a national organization providing services all across the country, your fundraising can be countrywide. But if you are a small community-based organization, your fundraising activities should be primarily targeted to the closest circle of supporters and only later to the bigger audiences. This is the most effective way for fundraising. The field of individual fundraising is very diverse. It consists of donation channels and fundraising methods. Donation channels are the channels through which your organization receives money. This is the path by which the money reaches your account. The most common donation channels of fundraising organizations are bank account or bank link interfaces, payment intermediate platforms, for instance, Stripe, or other integrated donation systems. Fundraising methods are the ways in which you reach and attract donors to give. These can be mass media, telethon, social networks, digital methods such as banner ads or search engine advertising, newsletter, peer-to-peer fundraising or face-to-face fundraising, personal invitations, events, and so on. And in the middle of the slide, you can see several methods that contains both a channel and a method of raising funds. This category includes donation boxes, partner campaigns, income tax support. Like in Lithuania, we do have this scheme, and I believe that in Poland, this is also an option to give to nonprofits through this income tax scheme. Also, legacy giving and crowdfunding platforms. From my personal perspective, if your organization is in the initial step of individual fundraising, I strongly recommend to install a bank link or payment platform into your website. So this will simplify and speed up the donor's path. So that means you have to have a donate button in your website that can open a donation window where simply by clicking several buttons, your donor can donate you money. So to have this very short path to get the money is crucial for individual fundraising. What fundraising methods to use could be decided when you develop your donors' profiles. That means you need to describe personas of people who most likely to donate to your cause. We can describe donors by their age, living area, sex, marital status, leisure time activities, values, and so on. After we better understand our potential donors, we can make decision what fundraising methods to apply. I believe social media, digital media, newsletters, and peer-to-peer fundraising have the biggest potential for local HIV organizations. Fundraising, regardless of the chosen method, is always a cyclical process, and it consists of 5 main steps. So, at the very beginning, you are creating a campaign, the center of which is a value proposition. This is the essential message of what will change from receiving support. Next comes making the ask, which includes the donation channels and fundraising methods we have already discussed. After raising support, it is necessary to thank donors. Do this repeatedly, starting from the moment the donation is made and continuing after the implementation of the activity, sharing the results or achievements. I can assure you, saying thank you to your donors is never too much. Next comes effective activity and presentation of results. Repeating thank you alone will become weak if donors do not see your activities, what exactly were made. So show your activities in daily communication. Talk about goals, how you are taking steps toward your goals every day. Now we'll have a quick jump into the corporate fundraising. Like individual fundraising, it has channels and methods. But in comparing with individual fundraising, there are fewer of those channels and fewer of methods. Main channel for corporate giving is definitely bank account. So usually corporates donate by making simple bank payment direct to your bank account. And the main method is direct ask. There are the same methods of telemarketing or events or mass media applicable for business donors, but on the daily basis, individual direct ask is the main way to approach corporates. And this is the reason why the best investment into the fundraising is to hire a fundraiser, because direct ask can be done only by a real person. There are no single process to raise money from corporates. But in order to better understand the algorithm, I put main steps into one graphic. So, how corporate fundraising is happening? So, firstly, we are defining our goal. So, we are seeking to raise 5,000 euros or 10,000 euros or 20,000 euros, or like what amount is on our agenda. Then we are analyzing, we are picking one company and we are analyzing that company's profile. And then we are building case for support for that company. And we are looking for some similarities or some common values or some maybe mission something have in common. So those similarities are very important thing while we are preparing case for support. Then we are establishing contact, and of course the best way to get to a potential business donor is to have a door opener. So maybe you know someone who works there. Maybe, I don't know, you have a volunteer that works in that company and can introduce you to a CEO or CMO or other decision maker. Then you're having a meeting and conversation, and not only pitching during that meeting. The most important thing, you asking questions during that meeting. You are gathering information about that company and their philanthropic needs. Because every company, by giving philanthropic money, they have also additional goals. For instance, to have a better employer branding, or to have a better reputation, or to have more, I don't know, more clients, and so on, so on. So you need to ask questions just to understand what motives are the main drivers for certain company. And then you are making tailor-made proposal to that company. Usually it takes second meeting with the same company just to clarify your proposal, to discuss a opportunities for your partnership, and then decision is made. And sorry to say, but it's huge probability that you will receive no. In the world of fundraising, corporate fundraising, it's very normal to have 9 no's out of 10 decisions. So 1 out of 10 is quite good success rate. And if you're receiving no, don't take it personally. Just come back to analysis. Just pick another company. But if you are lucky, you have your yes decision, and then legal agreement should follow, and you should thank you and communicate your partnership as it was agreed. Then you are implementing the program, so you are doing what you promised to do with that financial support. And at the step 11, you are making stewardship. And by saying stewardship, I mean all kinds of touching points with the donor. So it's donor relations. You are inviting them to your meeting events. You maybe inviting them, and over the cup of coffee, sharing your daily life routines, or maybe organizing volunteer day, and so on. And it's very important that only once you've delivered the project and thanked properly, you can come back to the same donor with the different case for support. So this is also a cycle, and you need to finish the cycle to thank properly, to close the loop, and then come back to the same donor with another ask. Fundraising planning. So now, after a brief overview of individual and corporate fundraising, it is important to understand where to start. So build your fundraising processes by developing a plan. And this could be done by answering 6 main questions. How much you need? Like exactly how much you need. 25,000 euros this year is needed to fundraise, or 500,000, or 3,500 or whatever. So this should be very, very specific amount, because depending on how and what you need, you will be choosing methods, and you can count how much of investment in fundraising you need. The step 2, what is needed, services, goods, or money. Step 3, what will be done because of donation. So what will be the change driven by that philanthropic investment. 4, what are the fundraising methods to be used. 5, that value proposition, that core communication message. And the 6, how fundraising will be organized in your organization. And there's very important principle of fundraising, that it can be done only by doing. No theoretical fundraising is possible. This is why it is important to develop action plan and include at least few fundraising activities into your organization's daily routine. And we at Baltic Fundraising Hub developed fundraising plan template, so you can download it by scanning this QR code, and feel free to download it and to adapt it to your organization's needs. And I'll finish my presentation with two fundraising cases that is in one or another way relates with your cause. So first example of UK-based organization, International HIV Alliance. They created most provocative TV ad ever. It was irrelevant, it was very inclusive, and the ad drove people to a custom-made websites where they were invited to purchase a come-together box containing a range of erotica to help people enjoy mind-blowing sex with their partners on Valentine's Day. So this website is not working, but this YouTube link is still working, and you can see this very, very provocative ad. The campaign slogan says, "Doing good never felt like this before." And these great tools and risk medium were combined with a real desire to raise awareness on behalf of the International HIV Alliance of the importance of having safe sex and to encourage donations to help people with HIV gain access to medical care and contraception. And results. It didn't raise as much money as expected, perhaps due to the potentially controversial nature of the ad, but We Come Together generated a lot of interest and discussion and brought the subject of safe sex back to the fore. Another example is related with the idea that even haters of your cause can raise you money. The same-sex gender diverse formal is run by organization called -18. It gives a safe space for teenagers who don't identify as straight. Those in attendance can dress however they want, act however they want, and bring whomever they want to the ball. The Anti-Gay Stop Safe Schools Coalition group in Australia heard about this and encouraged their supporters via Facebook to buy all the tickets to this event. But the group did not realize that this -18 organization wasn't selling tickets. They were crowdfunding. So every ticket sold was actually a donation that went straight and directly to the charity event. And the final result, 45,000 Australian dollars were raised. So don't afraid to have opponents and critics' attention. You can use it for your own benefit. That's all on the fundraising basics. Wishing you to make at least one move in order to be more fundable and findable. It will definitely pay off. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really interesting. So now it's time I will give the floor to, I don't remember, Abimbola.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
And we will reply to the question at the end, when all the speaker will speak. Abimbola,
okay.
the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to share this space and time with every one of us. Thank you to Natalia and to Marco for great coordination. And I want to also thank Giedra for, bringing this foundation. It's very key, to what we do. And of course, I've learned a lot myself, Thank you so much. I will quickly dive into it. It's a pleasure to be here once more time. My name is Abimbola. I'm originally from Nigeria. I work and live in Sweden, Malmo, in the south of Sweden particularly. And I work as a community health specialist with Noazak Mosaic as part of the 24 partners within the core project And I must say that the core has actually given us a very good visibility, in terms of when it comes to finding funds, and then when it comes to credibility, which I will also talk about. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Yes. So, a little bit about NOAC's Mosaic in Malmo. We are a national organization. We have 6 active outlets all over Sweden. Particularly, we function from the south of Sweden, and we cover 2 regions, which is called the Skåne and the Blekinge region. And our core focus is providing support services to people who live with HIV and their family, and also in knowledge dissemination, because there are a lot of misinformation out there. And particularly, we have outreach program, particularly for education, for migrants coming into the country where they learn the language. So we target that. And also we have test services, particularly which is supported by CORE. I must say that has actually improved our services in terms of testing. And however, I will also quickly mention that currently in Sweden now, we are the only one doing the integrated testing. Apart from testing for HIV, we also test for syphilis, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. And also as part of our core service model, we target population that are hard hit by HIV accusation, particularly the migrant population, because in Sweden, about 65% of the burden lies with the migrant population. And most of the times we figure out that majority in our needs analysis, majority of the project are targeted towards the people that are not in that burden bracket. So these are the key ways by which we function. And however, we have the capacity of our 8 staff and 25 peer workers and volunteers. However, these peer workers and volunteers are always dwindling, because some of them are international students. By the time they finish their program, some of them get a job, they move, or some goes back to their country. So this has actually been helping us in discharging our duties effectively. And in the year that we've reported a number of projects, outreaches and intervention, about 951 of them, and we've made a lot of contacts, about 4,000. And of course, in cumulative to our tests in the year that ran out, we had 1,234 tests, inclusive of all the tests that we render. And of course, I will mention that in 2024, we had 454,200 euro as our budget. And of course, I would say that in 2025, it was actually very critical when everybody was on the edge. Till June, we were actually running on deficit, so that we know where we are coming from. And I would love to say that we do not have all the answers, but however, this is our story. This is our peculiar situation. This is our peculiar or lived experience, so that we can all learn as a young or small non-governmental organization. Please, next slide. Thanks. Yes. So we'll quickly look at this as we talk along, as we tell our story. Next slide. Thanks. So the challenges are quite enormous. And of course, we have not shied away from the fact that we have to see what our challenges are. And some of them are, the reliance on short project-based grants, which can also bring burnout, because when we have funding for projects, the timing or the timeline is always like 1 year, 2 years, and then we begin to think, what is going to be the next move when this funding, expires, or when the project runs out. So those are the key challenges that we've been facing, and of course, shrinking national HIV budget political reluctance to actually fund migrant health. We all know what the political situation is within the EU and even globally. Even before Trump started the declaration cutting funds from USAID, the political landscape within the EU was also leaning to the right, and basically that has always, affected the kind of funding we are. So these are core part of the challenges we've been facing, and particularly looking at small NGOs where you have to compete with larger ones, where you work within the HIV response, and then you have some other agencies that have been existing for so long, they are big, and they have some political leanings too. So these are some of the challenges, and particularly fundraising takes time from service delivery, and the stress of survival, is always telling on us. So these are critical part of our challenges as a small NGO, and of course, I believe we all learn from how we were able to marshal all of this. Next slide, please. So, one of the turning points for us was to identify our vulnerability. We know that, yes, we are competing on a stage where there's so much competition. And then, for example, what Giadra told us, we have to be fundable, and then we have to be findable. So we had to sit down and introspect to see how we could do things differently. So we stopped chasing every call and we began aligning with funders' priority. However, not leaving out our community's interest, because in person-centered care, that is what we always do. We want to put the community at the center of everything. So we realigned and then identify donors and then partnership. And of course, we shifted from local only mindset to regional collaboration. And that's, for example, within the core, we had collaboration with African Advocacy from the UK, which gave us a good standpoint and good visibility in terms of assessing grants. However, those grants were not so big, but of course, it was giving us some credibility and some visibility. And of course, we began packaging community evidence, because those are our story. And these are the things, the lived experiences our community are facing. So I will still talk about that as we go on. This next slide. So these are some of the moves we made. In May of this year, we had to present evidence at the Nordic Public Health Conference in Göteborg in Sweden. We had a model called the HIV and Faith. And practically, we are the only one doing that because the story we normally hear is that, oh, they are hard to reach, they are hard to reach. But the question we are not asking ourselves is, are you ready to go to them and let them decide what they want in terms of need analysis? Let them decide this is our need, and not just sitting at the round table somewhere in an air-conditioned room and then say, oh, let us put this back to people. So we had to leverage on all the stakeholders. We also went ahead, we joined a group in the university, like a research group. We presented papers there, and eventually we formed partnership with people from Ukraine through this Swedish Institute, and then the visibility was increasing. The confidence in us was increasing that we can be able to deliver. So these are some of our lived experiences when we decided to shift from the local even to the regional, and then we started seeing the dividend little by little. Next slide, please. So this is just a snapshot of how our funding went in the last reporting year. After diversifying layered approach from our public health agency, we get 90% of our funding from them. And in 2024, we had 390,000 euro. And then subsequently, because of the landscape, in Sweden currently, between 10 and 30% of funding are cut from civil societies and other agencies. So we also had that cut of about 15%. So we can see that number, in 2025. So that was a little bit stressful for us. And also within the local context in the city, we were able to show evidence so that from the principle Gadra has already laid for us, we can see that engaging at the local level can also bring results. In 2024, we only had 8,000 euro, and by the time we were able to justify and deliver, and then they had to increase because of the output we were able to get. We're involved with social work and then social determinant of health. We are not focusing, we are moving away from HIV, but we are focusing on the person to look at the lived experience, and that actually brought a good feedback here. And then on the regional one, the Swedish Institute was able to fund us with 45,000 euro because of our collaboration with Ukraine in a transnational project that involved Germany, Poland, Ukraine, and Sweden. So that also was not there before. That's what we started this year. And of course, we had about 3 grant writing. Like Giadra said, you do not have to expect all of them to come back to you positive. So out of the 3, one was said no, and one said yes, and one is still pending. So we already know that, and then so that we can't be stressed too much. Like I said also, we are in partnership with African Advocacy through Via Gilead, which we had about 13,000, which is also helping us. And particularly the core project has really helped us so much from 2023 to 2025. Next slide, please. So, lesson for others to learn. It's not as if we have all the model, but we have learned through a lived experience. And like Giadra said, you can only have that experience when you start doing it. So we were able to synthesize that we adopt smartly from local idea, and then we went into the region, we went into the global space, and also we leveraged so much on the partnership, particularly the partnership that the core project has actually exposed us to. And this gave us a lot of access, a lot of legitimacy in the work that we do, and the results are speaking for themselves. And the honesty about our failure was very important in our grant or fund seeking, because we identified that, in this area we have to do more, in this area we have to increase our visibility. And also we invested in skills in grant writing, because we are a small organization. However, we had to multitask. So we gave ourselves that task to be able to write grants and then do it effectively, keep doing it. And in the face of rejection, we still kept on re-strategizing, like Giadra said. So we advocate for sustainability. We always want to push for funders to fund multi-year support for us. For example, the example from the city, where we have to convince them, we have to show evidence that yes, we can run for with this program for another year to another year in a positive manner. Next slide, please. So yes, we will not fail to talk about the human side. Chasing fun should not cost our mission, because our mission should be the service to humanity, the community that we serve. So funding insecurity impacts our mental health, because sometimes we are not sure. Somebody who is 100% job contracts has to be reduced to 75, has to be reduced to 50. So these will always bring some tension, mental health issues and all that. So we all need to balance this in terms of implementation. Should not suffer because of fundraising. That's one thing that we will know. And then the core funding has actually given us good psychological safety for a small team like us. And then we really look forward that in the nearest future, we'll be able to have more funding, maybe from the core project or from another project within this network that we have formed, which is very, very important. Next slide, please. I'll be rounding off soon. So let's make small NGO very visible. Just to say that we encourage shared resources For example, within network like Core, it has really, really helped us in terms of technical know-how, in terms of credibility, and in terms of connection, and a lot of things that we have gained for it. So, and we should also advocate for direct funding, particularly for community-led organization, and also to build an EU-wide mentorship hub, particularly for proposal writing. Thanks to Giadra, because she has laid that foundation very carefully, and it's something that we can always build on. Next slide, please. So, in summary, we should start with honest analysis of our situation. It is very, very, very key. We should build diverse funding stream from the local, the national, and the international one. And we should also always leverage on the network and partnership for credibility's sake. So we should be resilient. We should refine our strategy irrespective of whatever results we get, either a yes or a no. And we should always put that our mission always comes first to the community we serve. Next slide, please, so that we round up. So thank you for your attention. And if we have questions, we can raise. This is just our lived experience as a small NGO. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much. Sorry. So now it's time of Magda from Poland.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for invitation. I hope you hear me well.
Yes, yes.
And also see my presentation right now. Yeah. So thank you for the great presentation. It was also inspiring for us. We are not very small organization, but quite old organization, 23 years old. My name is Magdalena Kierstein-Barczek. I'm CEO from the Foundation for Social Education. I'm closely collaborate with many of you, and we are one of the 27 organization member from the core project that is going to the end. And I also coordinator of the project at the foundation because, as was mentioned before, the not so big organization team doing a lot of things, not only be a CEO, but also coordinate the project, but also we are doing a research and have a cooperation with infectious disease doctor. Our foundation was opened in 2002. So this year was 23 years old. Today will be mainly talk about HIV because it's also the main activity that I'm doing, but we also do a lot around support, therapy, and education, and also harm reduction. We are working around HIV, STI, but also hepatitis, and in the last few years also around TB. Around HIV, we have 2 voluntary counseling testing places. In Warsaw, we offer HIV, hepatitis C, and syphilis rapid test, and also confirmatory test for HIV. We have mobile harm reduction service dedicated for people who are using drugs, but in the last couple of months also offer project dedicated for migrant population with co-funding with WHO. We are doing also testing on the around homeless people, and probably in December we start testing on in the prison. So we have quite big experience of non-medical testing, but also integrating testing. And right now we include not only HIV, hepatitis C, and syphilis, but also questionnaire screening for TB and education around TB. We have a big number of newly diagnoses in our centers, so that's also the reason why we offer Academy of Positive Life. It's a program dedicated for people living with HIV and their family and friends. So we have free of charge and support, psychotherapy, a lawyer, social worker, education about HIV. We are doing different research. You can also find out us on the European level research programs. We concentrate also a lot around advocacy work and for people living with HIV. And we are fighting also with criminalization law in Poland. And we also implement social campaigns, mainly around stigma and discrimination around people living with HIV. So today I will be mainly speaking about one of our projects. We have every year around 25 projects. We are based on the project. We do not have long-term support from government. We had a cooperation and project with local government, Warsaw government, and also Polish government. But it's dedicated for the programs, not for the standing of the organization. So if you have programs, you can survive. If you don't have programs, nobody is care for that in Poland. So today I will be talking about our innovation program as a part of the core project, because as I mentioned, we are one of the 27 organizations who implement testing, but we concentrate on the self-testing. I will explain you why. So this is our experience about testing. In 2003, we opened first our voluntary counseling testing place in Warsaw. So it's more than 20 years ago. During that time, we also opened another place. Unfortunately, we have to rent the place where our testing places are. So we have right now two different localizations. One is in the center of Warsaw, with cooperation with other organizations who hosted the place where we have the voluntary counseling testing. In 2017, we opened our first mobile harm reduction service program. So we rent the van camper, and we start project with Warsaw City Hall, but also with Drug Prevention Bureau. And it's ongoing project from 2017. Every year we have continuation of the project, and unfortunately every year we also rent the car. In 2018, we implement integrate testing. We were also part of the integrate project, EU project, and we compare HIV, hepatitis C, and syphilis testing, and we start doing also outreach testing outside of our voluntary counseling testing, because we find out that some...
Yes,
Sorry.
don't worry.
Sorry, I lost my connection. I don't know what had happened, and sorry for that situation, but I will quickly come back for my presentation for losing your time. And yeah, so we, as I mentioned, we have mobile harm reduction service, then integrate testing. And as everybody knows, we have a COVID situation in 2020, and it was the moment when we have the first lockdown of our service. So it was the moment when we decided that this is the moment when we should implement self-testing. I knew about the several projects implemented already in Europe about it, but it was a great moment to implement it in Poland. So we also use opportunity that we have saved some money from the voluntary counseling testing and implement the testing self-tests. We bought these tests, and we have the dedicated helpline to people can order the test. And as you know, as a timeline, in 2022, the war in Ukraine has started. And it was also the moment when we find out that we have to open much more our organization also for migrants population in Poland. So concentrate on the home testing, why it's so important. Of course, it's barrier reduction mechanism. People can order the test at home, do it with their partner. We don't fear of explaining of the sexual activity. It works because it's safe space where people can take the test at their own place without social pressure, and reducing feeling of danger and stigma. So it was very important to implement the self-test very quickly. And the COVID situation also opened the door for self-testing, and people start to be much more useful to use self-tests, especially for COVID tests. So as I mentioned, the first activity around self-testing we made in 2020. Then we used a lockdown and opened the hotline to have a pre and post counseling for those who would like to order the tests. Then we have Sharma, our experience also for other organization in Wrocław. We cooperate together to continuate the implementation of self-testing. And then we had a great opportunity to be partner of the core project. And on the money of the core, we could open professional website with professional agency who will send the test with application. We prepared for the core funding, the website, the application that people can free of charge order the test. But we also, because it was the piloting project, we thought that it will be not so many people will order the test. So we had the money for 2,000 tests. And it was our huge mistake because our success was bigger than we expected. We, at the beginning, have also cooperation with, as you can see, a pharma company who support us with tests because we have much more people engaged and interested of the tests than we expected. So in 2023, we have this launched the program, and unfortunately, or happy with us, very quickly 2,000 tests was ordered for free, and we send it for those who are interested. We explain that and show our huge success on the national conference, and then WHO decided that it's so good that we have the website, we have all system how you can order the test, all information, that WHO donate us with 10,000 self-test kits. And we could continue the program. So we were happy. We thought, oh my God, 10,000 tests. So we are survived for at least 10 years, 1 year, because you have to know that in all voluntary counseling testing, in 29 places in Poland, we are doing 40,000 tests. So we thought that 10,000 will be amazing for a very long time. And it was another surprise for us because we start sending the tests in the beginning of March, and in the end of August, all tests were ordered. We need to even implement a limit per day because there are so many people who would like to order the test. And I don't have time to show you the details of the our project because I should mainly concentrate on funding. But we were surprised because on the voluntary counseling testing, we saw mainly men, 80% are men, and on the self-testing, mainly women ordered the tests. So it shows that we again go to direct population, and 70% had never tested before. So it was good way where we send the test. And right now we try to cooperate with the pharma company. We show our result because the project is ongoing and we have this platform. So right now we get 6,000 this year, 6,000 tests for Durex, the condom company. And we implemented and send it with condoms this year. We still have around 2,000 left because we try to have it for the 1st of December and European Testing Week because we know that this is the moment where the interest is the biggest. So, but it's not only about sending the test, it's also about promotion. And we had extra money for the companies, private company, and we start doing creative distribution. It's boxes that we are sending for influencers. And in these boxes, we offer the leaflets about combination prevention. We offer tests that you can do it at home. And we also offer this year condoms and some small gifts, lubricant, coffee, or some sweet. It depends of the year. And we also dedicate this creative distribution for dedicated population every year. First was women. Second was, this year was also the LGBT community. And in the September this year, we dedicate for heterosexual men. And this is the biggest success because it's not cost us a lot because we don't pay influencers to showing that boxes. They agree for free that they will do it for us. And the success is amazing. We have more than 2 million last year presentation at people who saw on the Instagram our promotion materials. So you have just several ones, and it's really a big success because some influencers even doing online the tests and saying about how can do the test. And we see that this is the the very good way to promote it, and it's very cheap because we only pay for the box and sending for the boxes for influencers, and of course we have the person who contact with all those influencers. So now you can see this success that we had. As I remember, just to remind you, we have 2,000 on the core project, and we have right now more than 16,000 sending tests in the core timeline. So it's a huge success. So this is the question now, and now what? Because the success is good and big, and we have end of the project of core. Of course, we continued our website, and we still will be trying to find out continuation. My idea is also to use this data and write a publication and show the data and our results. And we will be continued our work around sponsorship for the next weeks. And we still pushing, and that's also the reason why I would like to publish the data, to push Polish government to start implement self-testing as a part of the national program. We will see self-testing is implemented on the Polish HIV guidelines, and there is a huge support of the infectious disease doctor and expert around HIV. So also the report from the core project will be another good part of the explanation why it's so important. So we believe that it's not the end of the core project for us. It will be a continuation of the self-testing. But as you can see, you can do a lot as an NGO, especially around promotion of self-testing, because we are the only one organization who are doing promotion and education about self-testing. And it's very, very important to continue it. Right now, you can also order the tests on the pharma shop and on internet. So there is some opportunity, but people has to have knowledge. So that's the reason why we are doing. So if you would have any other question, I'm happy to answer for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So this is time for the last speaker, is Alexandra. Hi.
Okay. Hello. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you all for great presentation so far. It's been really interesting to hear all about this. So my name is Alexandra Aaron, and I'm also from Sweden. You can go to the next slide, please. So a little bit about me. I've been living with HIV since 2018. I'm working as a nurse currently at the Clinic for Sexual Abuse, as well as with HIV testing at the local NOAC organization in Stockholm. And I'm also doing a project right now where I'm giving lectures about HIV. So this is what I'm doing right now. And I've been working with Positiva Gruppen and NOAC for different projects and activities since a couple of years back. Yeah, you can change the slide, please. So as the others have explained, there are different ways that we can get fundings. And I have actually just recently done my first funding, applied for money myself for the organization Positiva Gruppen. But in general then, I would like to say that the core funding comes from the Public Health Agency of Sweden. This is where Positiva Gruppen, which is the organization that I'm mostly affiliated with, but the others as well, get most of their money from this one, I would say. And then there are regional and local grants that also come from that you can apply from the state as well. And then there are innovation funding, such as Inheritance Fund, in Swedish called Allmänna arvsfonden. And this is where I am most experienced. The other fundings I've been part of with giving my insight, but I haven't actually applied for the fundings before. But the innovation fundings and the industry grants and partnerships is where I am more confident and comfortable and experienced. So I would say that the core funding and the regional is what keeps the organizations going in Sweden, and this is what funds different activities and yeah, basically salaries and all kinds of work that the organizations do on daily basis, and that also gives money. The normally when we apply for fundings in Sweden, the core funding from the Public Health Agency, which is the bigger one, you apply and then you get a 3-year grant, or like you get money for 3 years, and the regional is more, you get for 1 year, and then the innovation fundings, it can vary. So the one project I'm doing now, I will explain a little bit later on the next slides. Yeah, so you can go change actually. Thank you. So what is the actual, what have we learned, and what is behind the grant, so to say. So I think one thing that a lot of organizations and experience, either if you're in Sweden or in another country, is that it's yeah, normally a budget uncertainty. So it's actually hard to know whether you can keep a position, keep a person working that is here right now, if that person will be still here next year. For example, Positiva Gruppen has in the past had to let people go because a cut in funding. And I think this happened 2 years ago, that the organization got less money than applied for. Then they actually questioned this, and I think 6 months later they got right, so they got the money that they had applied for, but then it was already too late. So the person had already been fired due to not anything else but lack of money. And this is, I think, an ongoing challenge every year, actually. And then the problem, or like the difficulty, or like the challenge in having to use the money, because if you don't use all the money and give it back, then you have to motivate for why you need the same or more amount next year, maybe. But also, if you have money left at the end of the year, that also that oftentimes what I see ends up in either you have very little money and you have to find solutions to how to find ways to get the money for the activities that you still have left, or you have to spend more than you might actually want to. If it would have been my private money, I would have wanted to save that money maybe for an activity next year. But when it comes to funding, yeah, it doesn't really work that way. So I think that is one of the two of the important things behind the grants, or like two of the important challenges. And then of course, yeah, you have to apply, you have to in advance apply for money for different activities, and for transportations, and for, yeah, you have to decide the needs of the organization ahead of time, and those needs might change because things changes, and we might not know what's going to happen in next year. Of course not. I mean, we have to plan ahead of time, but things changes all the time, and sometimes things changes for the next month even, and then it can be difficult, and having to argument for why you want to use the money differently, and maybe have to actually pay back money afterwards, because they don't, the state funding, or even the companies that have given money might not agree with how it's been spent. So I think rigid structures is one of the challenges as well. And something I recently faced was unclear adjustments. And what I mean with that is that the project that I'm doing right now with the Swedish Inheritance Fund is that I am traveling around the country to give lectures about HIV and pregnancy, or like sexual health, SRHR, to people working within the healthcare. So this project came from another project that was inspired by the 4M in the UK. And this picture that you see on this slide is something that we developed from that project, which was also funded by the Swedish Inheritance Fund. So first we had that bigger project for 3 years with some of those challenges that I just mentioned, but at least we knew we had this money for 3 years. And then when that ended, I applied for more money for another project that is ongoing for 1 year. But when we applied for the money, so the main activities that we're doing is lectures and workshops. And then we have other costs as conference, like a conference room and food and travels. And unfortunately, they took away some of the money for the lectures and workshops, but they still kept the budget for the travels and the food, which when I asked them, like, why did you do this? It's not like if you take away money for traveling or for food, you should also that should also, or like if you take away money from lectures and workshops, I mean, it should also reflect on the money and food, on money spent on food and travels, for example, or more so, which I argumented for, was that if you take away money, it would have made more sense to get less money for traveling and for food, for example, and have a higher budget for lectures and workshops, which is what the project is really about, and this is where we get the knowledge out to the people. But yeah, so unclear adjustments and sometimes no good arguments for why things are, what do I say now? I'm losing my English, I'm sorry. Yeah, but why certain choices are made. So I think this is one challenge. And then something we've also learned the hard way is to always ask for more money. It seems that a general thing that happens is that you apply for a certain amount and you always get less. So something I've learned, and I've heard from many people now that I've been in the industry for a while, is to always apply for more than you want, or maybe you actually want a higher amount, but rather apply for more than you need, I guess I should say, because they always take away money. And I don't like it necessarily, because I like transparency and I like to be honest about cost, and I don't like always to negotiate, but I guess this is something that needs to be done. Next slide, please. I'm going to wrap this up. So this has been mentioned before as well, having fundings from different, not only rely on one funding, and I think this is a very important thing. And also one way to get money for a longer period, so that you know at least that you can survive for, let's say, 3 years or 1 year, or depending, different projects have different end times, but apply for multi-year funds, I think, is always a good solution. And to keep dialogue with funders, because I think this was also mentioned in the beginning, but to actually ask for what funders can pay for. And maybe you have an idea you want to do a workshop and you need to, I don't know, rent, have someone come and like make the space somehow for the people. And maybe they can't fund this person coming, but maybe they can fund the conference room, or yeah, I think having a conversation, a dialogue with the funders about like, this is what we want to do, where do you see yourself, like where do you fit in with your money, and always what was also said in the beginning, to also engage them, invite them to activities or to the conferences, or have meetings, and also show the work that you do and give them big thanks, because that's also a way to keep up the dialogue and show that you're grateful for the money given. Collaborate, always good, and to co-finance. I know this is being done a lot in Sweden between the Swedish organizations such as Positiva Gruppen, where I'm currently at, but also Noaks Ark, that the Noaks Ark comes in with money for HIV testing, for example, whereas Positiva Gruppen gives money for the food, or for maybe producing brochures or something else. And storytelling is also something that is always appreciated, and I see this a lot when I go out to give lectures. I always share my own experiences of living with HIV and how it started, or how I first was actually refused an HIV test. And I think this is something I always tell, because this makes it more easy, I think, for people that listens to me when I talk, to understand that it can also be applied in their workspace, or in their on their kids, maybe, because kids, everybody has sex, for example. This is something I always talk about. And I think it's very important to bring up the stories and share your own experiences. Or from this picture that you also see on this in the slide, it's from the conference that we had at the end of the 3-year project. And the person holding the microphone, her name is Rona, and she was there sharing how she had actually, through this project, built up confidence and strength, and been empowered to actually share about her HIV status to her children. And when I tell people this, it always makes people emotional. And I think emotions are very good when it comes to finding people to fund you, but also to make people engaged in what you do, and to understand that the knowledge is important. And yeah, transparency, I think, is also very important, even though you might have to sometimes find ways that I told you in the previous slide. I think transparency is better, but sometimes it just so happens that I think organizations have to, at the end of the year, spend the money on things just to be able to get the money in the next application. Yes, next slide, please. Yeah, I'm not gonna go. I think this also will be shared with everybody who listens, but so I'm not gonna go into this, and I know time is already past, I think. But yeah, this is just to get an idea. This is in Swedish crowns. Unfortunately, I don't know why I wrote it like that. But if you are interested in seeing how much money we are getting from the different funders, I think you can multiply by 10 roughly. So this is the type of money that could be given for different kinds of activities. Next slide, please. Yeah, so to wrap it up, I just want to say that asking for more is obviously having a reasons for it, and explain what you need the money for, but always ask for more is something I've learned. Ask more questions, ask what is expected, or what other people would want from you, but also ask for more money. And then when you, of course, if you have had fundings in the past, it also gives some sort of reliability, or like trust. So having been funded previously also makes it easier, I think, to get fundings in the future. So funding fall, and vice versa also, if you are transparent and do a good job, and actually work with something that is needed and can prove that also makes bigger chances, or higher chances, for actually getting the funds. So funding follows trust, but also trust follows fundings, I would say. And then take chances, be creative, find a gap and fill it. I would say, I'm not sure where this is going yet, but I am sharing my experiences and my work on social media. And I'm also, since I told you I'm working as a nurse, and I find a lot of engagement from other nurses and people working within the healthcare thanks to this. And I think sometimes that people are maybe tired of just regular lectures, or it's easy sometimes for organizations to keep on doing the same type of work that's always been done, and not testing new activities or new projects to reach out to people. So I'm happy to hear about those experiences that was just shared, and how like having a remote vehicle to drive around and do HIV testing, for example, I think that's a great idea. And I've been thinking about maybe having a coffee stand, like a vehicle coffee stand, and give out free coffee with some messages on the cups, and to do the just conversation or to do HIV testing. I think those types of activities that makes it easy for people to come to you, and to like people get something from you, but also invites people, and just creative ways of thinking. I think that's very important to engage people in general and to get more money. And I think that's the last slide. Maybe one more, just a thank you. Yes, thank you for listening. I hope this wasn't messy to listen to.
Thank you, everyone. It's time for the question. If someone want to raise their hand or write in the chat, but we have already someone who wrote something. To Gidra, your project falls. Right? Okay. Okay. For sure, your project falls short of its target. How do you communicate the results back to your individual corporate founders who have already supported you?
It's quite easy. You need to say thank you in the same way as you asked for money. So if you communicated your message through a Facebook posts or TikTok Reels or Instagram post or whatever, or maybe you communicated your ask in your website, or it was kind of event and kind of presentation on project that you want to get funds. So at the same ways, you can say thank you, but on social media, on your website, shortly, briefly present the main outcomes of your project, and at the very end of the message, write that this all was done only because donors like you funded and contributed. Thank you so much. So it's as simple as it is.
Okay, thank you. Another question that I think that is for everyone. Beside pharma industry, who will be potential donors for HIV prevention? What industry? What companies? Someone comment telecommunication sector. Apostles comment every corporation who does corporate social responsibility and they have an environmental, social, governance strategy department. And I will also add some church, like Protestant church in Italy. They support a lot HIV prevention and LGBT community. But I don't know, Magda raise
Yeah, I would like to share
her
with
hand.
you my not obvious partner. When we organized the campaign dedicated for people living with HIV, we have cooperation with IKEA, so the Sweden company, the one of the biggest company and very famous one, and in many situation and many cooperation that we have in this 23 years old, it's based on the people. And we have just contact with a person from IKEA, and we could ask for support on this project. And it wasn't only about money, because they have the project prepared 2 years ahead. So it was a late question from our side, but they support us with furniture. And it was very helpful. And also they organize catering because they have also food. So, and also have this kind of partner on the cooperation, open the space also for other organization. So sometimes we can use our cooperation in not obvious way.
Thank you. Some of the speakers want to reply to
I would also add, maybe it was mentioned that CSR strategies. So it's maybe should be not only CSR strategy in place, but health issues should be stated as a funding priority in the corporate policy. So if you see the or like business company and they stating that the health issues is the priority for them, it's not necessarily connected with the HIV. It can be health issues in like in common. So I would also would go to that corporate. Also, I am challenging you to think not about the industry, but also about neighbors. So if you are operating in certain community, just look around what companies is working next to you, because they will be how to say motivated to contribute safety, to contribute its own community issues, and it's quite warm and open to go to them and say, hi, we are neighbors and we are together motivated to build this community as a wonderful and beautiful and safe place to live for everyone. And I also had an idea. Maybe this would be a opportunity to partner with a entertainment industry. So, for instance, festivals, concerts, so on. They themselves, they are not a donors, but they have huge audiences. So, one thing, they can add your fundraising message to common communication like newsletters, social media, whatever. And another idea, it can be partnership opportunity. For instance, buy a ticket to this festival and €5 will go to the local HIV organization. So basically, this kind of partner will provide their customers, their clients as a potential donors to you.
Thank you. I have a question for everyone. I don't know who want to help me with this reflection, because many HIV organizations that I know, they do a very good job on the field, but they don't have a formal institutional setting. They are not used to corporate style. They are very informal, but our informal style is our strength. But I know that sometimes when you relate with institution, with corporate, you need to change yourself to be more relatable, not relatable, to be more, to like more to the corporate. So, could you please give us and me tips on how to approach companies without losing our true informal nature? I don't know if you understand my question. I don't know, maybe if someone of the speaker want to help me with this. Maybe Gidre?
Okay, I can start. Definitely, your authenticity is your advantage, and don't trade it for formality. Companies increasingly value genuine voices and community insights. When approaching them, focus on shared goals. It's easy to find the common language when you are talking about the same topics and the same goals. The same, I don't know, health of the community, health of young people, and so on. Um, and you share impact you create, you share stories you can tell together with that corporate, and of course talk about change you both want to see. And it's very important to keep your tone very human, And that means not only to speak as a human, as informal as it's comfortable for you, but also don't use non-profit jargon. So we sometimes we have a big temptation to go with that big wording, like making empowerment. So we are strengthening community. We nonprofits, we talking with that quite big and complicated sentences that we are taking from our applications that we are like writing for grants. So I think that it's also another thing that we don't need to do. But the most important thing, of course, it's a balance. So authentic message, professional framing, and it can really build the trust without losing your identity.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know if someone else have another question. If not, I have one for Alexandra. Because in your presentation, you show that the Public Health Agency of Sweden is one of your core funding, if I understand correctly.
Yes.
But in many countries like Italy, public authorities provide almost zero funding for HIV organization, due of stigma, due sometimes of lack of budget, if I don't always believe if there is no budget, and ignorance, of course. So, could you share with us any practical suggestion for us to start changing the mindset of the public authorities, or at least simply message of encouragement, because we have struggled to even with this.
Yeah, so again, I think the part of storytelling and like sharing lived experiences is very important to raise voices around HIV and to make people understand that there are needs. But I would say I work a lot with prevention work, and I give lectures in schools to high school students and to like healthcare staff, for example. And every time I go out there, it's sometimes I have to argument for why it's needed, but every time I come, it's very, very obvious that the information given is necessary. And like the statistics shows that like fewer people are using condoms, more people are getting chlamydia, for example. And I think those statistics, as well as research that shows that people living with HIV are not as open as they want to and are not feeling like as happy with their lives or like satisfied with life as they wish, or like lesser than other people not living with HIV. And I think those like the storytelling and using statistics and like facts, like I think this is very important. And I mean, it always takes a person. I guess this is the thing with HIV and other things that have stigma around it, that there needs to be people living with it who go out and face it and show that like this is me, and this could be any, like make it so that people understand that it could be anybody. It's just like a lack of luck, and to actualize it like that. And for countries who doesn't have like the budget, yeah, I think it's important to again and again talk about it publicly, and to cooperate, and what was just said about partnering with neighbors and finding, I think cooperation and partnering with neighbors and other organizations to get stronger voices together is important. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know if someone else want to add something. Natalia, the webinar will be uploaded on the EATG channel on YouTube.
Yes, the webinar will be uploaded to the core website and also to the EATG YouTube media. And we will also upload the presentations
Yes,
the
because
speakers in PDF. Yes. I also would like to avail of this opportunity to thank to everyone who participated in this webinar and to all the speakers and to ask all the participants to fill in the post-event survey that you will see after the webinar ends in your browsers. It will help us to understand how you are feeling at the webinar, how it went, and maybe some recommendations for the future. Thank you.
thank you, Natalia. So if there are no any more questions, I think that we can say bye for the next time. I hope that you like this event. Thank you so much for everyone, for Magna, Natalia, Gidre, Abindola, Alexandra. And I hope to see in real life in the future.